It's what you do. 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 It's what you do.
Welcome to the State of Mel Entertainment. Thank you for stopping by and joining us in this great discussion. Now, here's the host, Mr. Sigma Jones.
It's what you do. It's what you do. It's what you do.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the second episode of State of Male Entertainment. So I am your host, Sigma Jones. The current gang is here at the moment. First and foremost, we just want to give a shout out to our subscribers. Thanks for listening in. Thanks for tuning in. We truly appreciate the love and support. Hope you all are doing well this Sunday evening or Monday morning, depending on where you are around the world. We definitely got a great one on tonight. Some great discussions as usual. So we're definitely not going to hold anybody back and we're going to get right into it. So, with that said, I definitely have to introduce the current gentleman that is here. So, off to my right hand side is the man who is definitely the Dark Lord in and of his own right, and that is Mr. Aizen Sama.
All creatures need to obey. No one can survive without trusting someone they feel is better, more worthy than themselves. To avoid that responsibility, those who are worthy look even higher, searching for more superior beings. And those superiors do the same, looking for even stronger individuals they can believe in. That is how all kings are created. It is also how gods are born.
Mr. Aizen Sama. How's it going, good sir?
I'm doing well. Just glad to be here for another one of these conversations. I enjoy these, and talking about just what's plaguing male entertainment at this state in our time. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely good, sir. And then next up is definitely one of our most experienced commentators on the panel, and that is another good friend of mine, Mr. Lawrence Guy. Shalom, good sir. How's it going?
Shalom, shalom, shalom to everybody on the panel. Shalom to everybody in the chat. You know, same old, man. I sit here in awe of just the level of disrespect I get. I mean, just I don't understand it. I'm the only person whose character in the video disappears. I sit here. I got no wrench.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm
Eisen's,
gonna fix that right now.
Eisen's in my spot. I mean, I'm just the level, man. I'm just saying,
First come, first
dang,
serve, brother.
dang, man. So just no love for the older brother for that elder spot, right?
Well, as far as a rich, you are definitely riched up good, sir. Now, as far as your spot, you're gonna have to deal with that with Aiza-sama. I can't control too much of that.
I'm just saying, man. It's a click and a switch. I'm just messing.
Okay, you are already having me to do. I mean,
So basically, he said, just drop him.
Just too much already.
He was giving you trying to give you the axe early, bro.
Just too early, man. Too early.
I'm used to
sorry.
it.
I'm sorry. Hey, look, man. See, look, big brothers, little brothers mess around like that. That's what we do.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I know.
Exactly. Well, next up is another good brother of mine, and that is Mr. A Truism. And you know I got to do this.
What you gonna do? 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 What you gonna do?
Mr.
Thank you
A
for that,
Truism.
bro.
Yeah, not a problem, good sir. How's it going?
Going all right. I just got back from roasting some marshmallows with the fans, why I'm a little bit late.
Oh no, you right on time. We just getting started, so
Hell
I had
with
to-
that. He late.
oh my goodness. Here we go.
Shalom,
Hey.
good brother. Shalom, brother. Shalom, brother. Come on, brother.
Hey, he can't. Hey, he can't help it. Hey, CPT time. You know.
Mhm. I had to do white. I had to do white people things. You know how it is. I had to do white man things. You know.
Oh, CPT time. Oh my goodness.
Man, oh my goodness, we already getting started. Okay, all right. Well, the later brothers that come in, join in on, they have their introductions and stuff, but we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. So, episode number 2. And I was definitely looking forward to doing this month's episode because there has been some interesting events and some occurrences that happened this month that I knew for a fact this will be the perfect time to jump in and kind of give our own thoughts and discussions of it. And so one of the things that have happened that I think is a great topic to get started on, this whole notion of blackwashing. Now, most people are familiar with the term whitewashing is when, so to speak, white people take other folks' cultures and whatnot and make it their appropriation and everything. So now there's something called blackwashing, where there are cartoons, comics, some storylines, movies, and everything, where now they're trying to make it more Negrofied in perspective. And I think this is a good discussion to talk about, is making something blackwash actually helping male entertainment? And so I'm gonna open the floor for you gentlemen to start while I get the tune set up, our gentlemen's like music going. But feel free to jump right in.
First and foremost, if you're going to try to make something just comfortable for daggles, you already lose. Okay? The main reason why is because I get it. White folks controlled media, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. Victim narrative, whatever. But this actually, if Negroes actually had some gumption and the drive to actually want to put in some effort, this is the perfect time right now for original, if you wanted to call it that, quote unquote, black stories to come about. Let me ask you guys a question. How do you think niggas would feel if they had a white princess play the part of Tatiana in The Princess and the Frog?
I go you one better. How would they feel if everybody in Wakanda was race swapped?
See what I'm saying? See, because we already had we had an original black story, The Princess and the Frog. It had a black woman, an Arabian zaddy. You had Creole and hoodoo beliefs, voodoo beliefs. All of it was perfectly crafted to reflect an African, quote unquote, Southern African American experience.
I got a question to what you just asked.
Sure.
The original story came from a book, right?
Correct. Yes, it did.
Oh well, no wonder that's why nobody would know. But anyway.
He's not wrong. Our people don't read, man. We got to keep it real. We got to keep it real. They don't read.
That's true. That's true.
You're correct. But they took it and they actually crafted it to actually to give everybody their first quote unquote black princess.
Mm-hmm.
Now they should have took a cue from that and actually started making their own stuff, but they don't. And I shout out to Young Ripper. He had a stream. He had to put a video that says, "Y'all want white folks sloppy seconds," and I agree with him 100%.
Well, look, man. Look, you look going just like with the book thing. You know how it is. If you want to hide something from black people, you put it in a book.
Yes, sir.
So, but this thing with the and it's fascinating because nobody really does that, but black people, because if you look at interviews that were had like the crazy actress from Fast and the Furious, Michelle Rodriguez, I think it is. Even when somebody came up to her on the street with TMZ interview and asked her point blank, she said, "That's stupid. We should make our own." She said, "Why do I want to copy somebody else?"
Uh-oh.
And that's from a Latina. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? It's just the reason I don't like it is because at the end of the day, it's a minstrel show to me. Because what you do when you take a character who's like, take Superman for instance, and you wanna make Michael B. Jordan be Superman, a black Superman. See, I don't take that seriously because that's a minstrel show to me. That's like white people who used to put on blackface to make fun of us.
Uh-oh.
You understand what I'm saying? So I take it like that. You know what I'm saying? In addition to that, I gotta be honest with you. Yo, Superman's one of my favorite characters.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And I don't like him because he's white. I like him because he's Superman. I like him because of what he represents. The same way I like Black Lightning. I don't like Black Lightning because he looks like me. I like Black Lightning because the way they crafted the character's personality, you know, the way he works as an antagonist and as a protagonist, depending on writing. Nobody chooses their characters because of what color they look like. Nobody chooses their character based on gender or sexuality. We don't care. We don't care.
Um,
I don't like Ripley because she's a chick. I like Ripley because she kicks ass. You
I
know what I
would
mean?
I would argue and say that nobody did do that.
Well, back in well, no, well,
I
no,
would say
back,
they do that now, maybe.
yeah, no, that would be fair. That would be fair. I couldn't argue with it. To be honest with you, I would say it's both, and it probably leans more towards what you're saying. But nobody, nobody cared. I mean, don't get me wrong. Growing up, I did want to see like characters, you know, who kind of looked like me, but it wasn't like I was sitting there getting depressed about it. And I definitely didn't want somebody to swap out. You know what I'm saying? I don't want Batman to be black. Batman's never been black.
And it's
You
not and
know,
how unoriginal is it and lazy it is just to put a color swap on it. It's like Final Fantasy, like a Final
Actually-
Fantasy monster.
actually,
Yeah.
actually, it's worse than that because it's disingenuous. And
Mm.
here's why it's disingenuous. You say you do this because you want to promote more inclusion and more
Mhm.
diversity and
Mhm.
representation.
Mhm.
Then how do you turn around and make Superman black? How do you turn around and make Batman black? But at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that you're ignoring all the other characters who are already there that are black.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Or Latino,
prime example would be Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mhm.
You wanted to represent diversification and all that good stuff, and
Mhm.
yet the most popular version of a female Captain Marvel is Monica Rambeau. But you literally jumped like 3 characters over to go straight to Carol Danvers.
Mm.
So
Oh.
where's your aspect about being about inclusive and diversity? Because the character was right there. Because
I've
you got
gotta-
because you got to understand the way it works is that there was the original Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Then after he passed away, Monica Rambeau became the next Captain America. As a matter of fact, Spider-Man gave her that name.
Mhm.
Then after that, it was his son who took the title, and then after the son, Carol Danvers, who's only had it for like maybe I don't know since 2011 maybe.
Yep.
But Monica Rambeau goes all the way back to the 80s.
Oh well.
So if you're sitting here talking about inclusion and diversity, why would you ignore the very character who sits there and represents it? Same thing with DC. You want to talk about representation and et cetera and so on. So you want to make Superman's son gay, but you already had gay characters that existed already. Why'd you ignore them? You want to push black people to the forefront.
Mm.
You want to push black people to the forefront, so you make Cyborg a member of the Justice League. Black Lightning's been around since 1977, and if you are going to push diversity with black people, why we always have to be the inhumane looking ones?
Oh damn!
Mm.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, because when you look at Cyborg, all you see is his head.
Yes.
There's nothing else about that. And then you say that you choose this character because you want to promote excitement and a character that black children can look up to. But what black children have $3 trillion worth of technology to become a cyborg? Come on, man, stop playing.
Right.
And
Black Lightning makes sense because at least Black
Yeah.
Lightning, before he got his powers, he was a teacher. He was an Olympic level Olympic athlete who won decathlons and stuff. You see what I'm saying? It's just nonsense, man. I'm
Well,
sorry,
Luke
I
Cage.
went on a tirade.
Luke Cage. You already had Luke Cage already back in like the late 80s. And he was out kicking ass. He went toe to toe with the Hulk. He was holding his own with them. He teamed up with Iron Fist, who that's your Asian-ish kind of influence there, right there. So that you already had all the diversity right then and there. You already have it right there. You had Storm, for Pete's sake. Storm was the black for a while. She was even a leader of the Gold Team of the X-Men for a while.
She was the leader even before that. But I'll tell you something that's funny about what you just said. You
Mhm.
just brought up Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Mhm.
Because make no mistake, they don't just do it with whitewashing white characters to black. They
Mhm.
do it because Iron Fist was capitalizing on the craze of martial arts movies.
Yep.
And here you got Asian martial arts movie being represented by a white rich guy.
Uh-oh.
You see what I'm saying? So I mean, it's
Oh.
not, it's not, it's not like it hasn't happened before, but it's just been so blatant and so brutal lately, and the
Mm.
changes are made for no reason.
No, it is a reason. The reason is to make people who don't even support the product happy. That's what it is. Because black women aren't interested in the comments like that. Gay dudes aren't really interested in the comments like that. SJWs ain't really interested in comments like
Hell,
that.
black males aren't.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, well,
I'm saying majority. In majority.
Yeah, majority.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
okay,
the
I see
majority
that.
of
I can
black
see that.
males,
Yeah.
I would say they're not into, especially like, you know, stuff that we would consider like this topic for the moment.
Mhm.
State of entertainment. You know, we're talking from a writer's perspective,
Mhm.
a director's perspective, producers and all. You know, people who actually
Fan perspective.
yeah, and even a fan perspective. And we're talking about things that, in my honest opinion, not many black men really care about, because for them, and this what kind of rubs me the wrong way a bit with some of these characters that, you know, they try to make every now and then. They will only take interest if there is a character who not only looks like them, but behave in the craziness.
You gotta give an example, bro. Give an example, bro.
Well, yeah, Hancock.
Oh,
And
wow.
watch this.
Yeah.
But wait, watch this though. And you know what's funny about the Hancock aspect?
Mhm.
That nobody ever got why he got beat down. A black man in the 1920s can't come out the holding hands out the theater with a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of people miss that. They didn't know. Actually, they didn't miss it. They just walked on by.
Yep.
Well,
Anti-SYSBM right there.
I would say there's enough stupid people that didn't get it. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I mean, history proves we got enough stupid people to not get it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but going back to what you were saying, it's true. Everybody who complains aren't even people who buy the product.
They don't even support it. They don't even support the product. They just
No.
complain because they want to see. They just want you. I guess what it is. I think they want you to do is see just it's like this weird game of chicken, more or less. It's like, okay, just how far down are you really going to just bend the knee before you just turn off? Because there comics literally have dropped off. Even the ones that are supposed to be so friendly to the L. Gibbets and to the Daggle. That doggone I Am Not Starfire. Bomb!
Oh dude. No. We can't be friends no more if you're gonna be bringing that up.
But I'm not saying it was good. I'm saying that shit it was like all is well, and just it went like the 747 at Lockerbie, baby. It went all the way into the ground.
And
Okay,
when you
so-
speak, oh my bad, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine, Eyes. I'm gonna pass it to you in a bit. But we are joined by one of the related gangs.
Uh-oh.
Hard to use that term and everything, but yeah, everybody knows who Logic Fighters is, especially once I do this.
I'm so disappointed, Ichigo. So very disappointed. Sadly, your sword exhibits only fear. When you counter, it's because you fear being killed. When you attack, you fear killing. And when you try to protect someone, you fear you could let them die. The only thing that your sword speaks of is senseless fright. And that's not good. What you do not need in battle is fear. Nothing will come of it. You counter, you don't let them cut you. If you protect someone, you don't let them die. When you attack, you kill.
Good sir, Mr. Logic Fighters. How's it going?
I'm doing
Yo,
well,
bro,
gentlemen.
bro.
How was everybody?
Good to have
What's
you
good,
here,
bro?
as
Thanks.
always.
Always
Yo,
a
bro,
pleasure, gentlemen.
what's this 15-minute late thing to make it interesting with you, bro?
Okay. I had the grill. I was supposed to grill some chicken, and then
Uh-oh.
I wasn't. And
Okay,
then
well, first of all, you can't be up in here talking about food if you ain't bringing nothing for everybody. For real, for real.
you know what? See, that's the problem with you black people. You're never satisfied. You're never happy. Can't build anything. Can't have anything around you people. That's why I don't associate with you people.
Look,
Wait.
what you
Logic said-
think was
wait.
what you
Logic
think was
finally
gonna
said-
happen?
But
There was
wait.
only
Logic
three-
finally
what-
said he is doing this.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
just-
going
I'm
free.
just
Threaten on
saying you can't roll up in here. I mean, there's three things you don't come up in a group of black people and say: chicken, watermelon, and I ain't gonna say the other one because we in public right now.
Booty butt, booty butt, booty.
I just had to say, I just wanted to say, what do you mean, you people?
I was saying, dude, what do you mean?
Tropic Thunder, baby. That was a good movie.
Man, yeah, I love that movie.
That was one of my best movies of all time. That right up there with Pootie Tang and the Pick of Destiny.
But
segue.
seriously, Logic, man, it's good to see you. How you been, bro?
Yeah, bro.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Had to take a trip to one of my favorite places, the Land Down Under, because I try to go once or twice a year. I love the place. The place is awesome. Melbourne. And I love it. So with that said, I just wanted to cycle back to something that I just quickly heard you say because I was just able to join in. So the funny thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if it was either Truism or Lawrence was saying, black people don't read comics. I mean, back from the 70s when I was a little boy, black people wanted nothing to do with comics. All of my white friends read comics. Now, granted, I went to white schools, but when my only black friends who read comics, ironically enough, literally became artists, two of whom both worked for Marvel Comics. Now, here's what I noticed. When Black Panther came out, black people who knew nothing about comics, and this is to Truism's point, black people went to go see Black Panther for the imagery. They know nothing about the comics, nothing about Marvel, nothing about the character. All they saw was, African country, king, superhero, wealthiest nation, powerful nation on earth, technology that rivals Star Trek. That's all they knew. All that they knew. And they were running around with the salute symbol, for lack of a better term. Now, again, as a person who walks an esoteric path, I know what that gesture means, and I know where that comes from. But black people are clueless. And the thing that sticks with me above all else, I don't want to sound like I'm ranting because I'm not. It's just that Stan Lee created the Black Panther. And if a person who actually knows their Marvel Comics history, the Black Panther is the only character that Stan Lee actually created. Every other character Ditko created or help me out.
Jack Kirby.
Thank you. Or Kirby created.
What
So
interesting.
they were collaboration with Stan Lee. The only character he actually created was the Black Panther, and he was white.
That's
For
right.
all the hypocrites out there. So
That's
it
right.
amused me to no end. To even now, years on, 3 or 4 years on, black people talk about Wakanda, we need Wakanda. Like, you understand that it's created for a comic book by Stan Lee, who was white. What are you talking about?
Because what they do is they only remember like the last series that came out, which was written by Reginald Hudlin, if I remember correctly. And before that was Christopher Priest. So that's pretty much, because that's what they do. They only go for, it's like any Batman movie. You can tell the director is not a fan of Batman because he only reads like 3 or 4 things. Dark Knight Returns, you know what I'm saying, The Long Halloween, and that's it. But they don't really delve into actually the history of the character. We see that all the time.
Well, actually,
Now the thing with the Black Panther,
I don't mean
that's
I
weird.
don't mean to cut cut you off, Lawrence, but the most
Yeah.
recent run of the Black Panther was actually Ta-Nehisi Coates.
No,
who
I was talking
wrote-
about Batman. I was
Oh,
talking
oh,
about Batman when I gave
oh,
that
okay,
list.
okay.
But I was using Batman as an example. But yeah,
Gotcha.
Ta-Nehisi Coates. But Ta-Nehisi Coates is not a writer. He never was. I mean, and that's
He's
and
not.
well, he's not. See, okay, I have an adopted mother, and she's a little short, blonde hair, blue eyed Jewish woman. Let's keep it real. And she is so wrapped up in Ta-Nehisi Coates' books, where she thinks he's one of these like most inspiring, all encompassing writers and etc. and so on. And Ta-Nehisi Coates sucks. He sucks. See, it's not hard to sit down at a table and write a book that talks shit about everything. That's not hard to do. That's not hard to do in any capacity.
Get out of there.
Do you know
You know
what
what I'm saying?
Ta-Nehisi Coates' greatest contribution to the Black Panther was? Ta-Nehisi Coates made Io and the general. What's her name? Oh, Okoye.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he did not. No, he did not. Those characters existed at almost 20, 25 years prior.
You're not. Let me finish. Let me finish. He didn't create them. He made them gay. He was the one who made them gay.
Yes, he did.
No.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. He
For
did.
those of you who have seen the film,
I
Okoye,
didn't.
The general. Okay, the general.
I saw the
leader-
first one, not the second one.
Well, I'm definitely not seeing the second one. But
Yeah.
for those of you who saw the film, Okoye, the leader of the Royal Guard of the Dora Milaje, who
Gotcha.
also doubles as the general, she's in a relationship with Daniel Kaluuya's character. In the most recent run of the Black Panther, Ta-Nehisi Coates made her gay, and her lover was Oyo, the character played by Florence Kasumba.
Man,
That's
you know what?
that's who Ta-Nehisi Coates is.
Yeah.
He bent the knee to the woke mob.
Right. So and again, there was no reason to touch those characters like that. They were
At
popular
all.
already.
Yeah.
So the thing, how can I put this? Going back to the original point that started this conversation, there is this thing in place where you either got a race swap, gender swap, or something with these characters. And the general consensus that you hear studios say, well, we're trying to do it because we're trying to make the movie accessible to everyone. Again, no one takes these characters and nobody sits around all day wondering how Superman impregnates Lois. Nope, nobody cares. Nobody. I mean, seriously, nobody cares. And then, cause like with my experience, I've actually had white people upset with me because I told them Black Panther was an average movie.
It was an average movie. It was an average movie at best. But see, here's the thing, right? If you tell me that historically minorities and women have been kept out of the writer's room, you are correct. If you tell me that historically minorities and women and other have not been given the chance to be creative, and then you're correct, and then you tell me that they are every bit as creative and as inventive as white men in these creative roles. Again, you are 100%. But here's the issue. When given these positions, all that they're doing is remaking the world. All they're doing is taking the lazy route and taking established white male characters and making them either female or black or Asian. And that is lazy, because if you're telling me that you are creative, give me a new character. Listen, I may ruffle some feathers with what I'm about to say. I don't care if you create a black, Asian, transsexual character. If it's an original character and the character is good, I'm on board. Why? Because you were creative. Now that's an extreme example, but my point is, create a black superhero, create a female superhero, create an Asian, Spanish, Jewish, American Indian, Pacific Islander. I don't care. but don't make Batman gay or Superman black or Captain Marvel or white. I don't want to see that. I
Well,
don't want to see that. Create
I,
new characters
see,
because
I,
don't take the lazy route. I'm sorry.
well, okay.
Go ahead.
I want to respond to that, but I want to let Sigma introduce the new panel guest first.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we got JJ Wilson on the panel, and JJ, I got to do your intro.
I'm not going there, Dottie. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive.
What's going on, JJ? How's it going?
I'm doing all right. How about you guys?
Shalom.
Yeah,
Good,
brother.
JJ,
How are
doing
you?
good.
Okay, I just hopped in. I was watching some football a little bit, but I got a little time to hang out with everybody. So, what's the main topic?
You
I was gonna-
you are the main topic. So tell us your life. On your time.
Oh yeah, I'll be right back.
But I wanted to.
I was gonna respond to Logic.
Yeah, go ahead, Lawrence.
It's just gonna be real quick. Going back to what you were saying about laziness, I disagree with that. I think it goes back to what we talked about in the first episode of this series, and it's not about being lazy. It's about being talentless. There's a difference, because we talked about this before. What we have are people without a creative streak. What we have are people without a creative vision. So what they do is they come in and they take over stuff that's already existed. And then what they do is they try to force their perspectives, ideologies, etc., and so on onto characters that have existed for 30, 40, 50, hell, some of 80 years plus, and then try to so that it's more talentless than laziness.
I'll go you one better than talentless. It's they're not passionate at all, because the thing is about all of these writers we're talking about that made and creators that made these characters and these storylines, they had a passion for the work and they had a passion for the genre in general. Everybody that's coming in now doesn't know and doesn't really even care about it whatsoever to even have any talent.
Well, I think it's somewhere in between a little bit, because it's a mixture of both. Like some of column A, some of column B. Like I said before, it is the Final Fantasy palette swap on monsters. You know, every time you walk into a Final Fantasy game, you meet a goblin, and then you meet a goblin lord, and then you meet a goblin king, and then you meet a goblin lord, goblin god. Then you see triple X goblin dragon god. But it's all different colors, but the stats just change a little bit, just make it a little more difficult than the average garden variety goblin. That's what it seems like to me. It's like it's a combination of them not only being talentless, but they're also completely unoriginal and just, let's just be honest, they gotta axe the grind. And they're gonna try to use your favorite character to preach to you about how you suck.
Well, it is interesting because Dr. Phoenix, he brought up this statement in the chat and all. He said black writers, whether they're in Hollywood, fictional writers, etc., all have one fatal flaw. They lack imagination. That's why they have never been able to create IPs on the same scale as Star Wars.
Hold on one damn minute. Hold on one damn minute.
Go around.
Hold on.
We ain't gonna be insulting me like that. No, I'm just playing. Actually, we do, but it's very few and far between, and they go back away. If you look at the Three Musketeers, Man in the Iron Mask, that's Alexander Dumas. That's a black. That's a black dude. I mean, so we already proved.
Thank you,
Dumas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, we have some. They're just very. I mean, it's a small scale.
It's
I mean,
few and
you
far
barely can
between.
hold them in two hands.
But
Yeah.
I personally would have to for I personally tend to lean more to what truism said. It's some of it has to do with a lack of talent, and some of it has to do with laziness. Because again, when we look at older writers, okay, look at the things that they were influenced by: the Industrial Revolution, the warmongering of the 1890s, World War One, Two, Korea, Vietnam, the Cold War. Most of these writers now, they're influenced by TikTok videos and each other. They take their inspiration from each other and videos. It is a case of the cat chasing its own tail. So the few creatives who come along, they tend to stand out. Now, as to Doc Phoenix's point, my personal leanings, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, my personal leanings are that a lot of it historically was the prejudicial thing, keeping black people out. To an extent, to a point. More recently, a lot of it, I think, has become, and it's a bit complex. It's performative in the case of, well, look, listen, it's tough for you to get a shot for anyone. But now that you're getting a shot, either you're going to give us what we want or you're going to just starve. Because I do see creatives and they have talent, but when given a shot, they just put out what the machine wants. So when I see someone like an Eric July come along, who's giving us Rippaverse, he's saying, look, listen, I don't need a shot. I've literally created my own shot, and I'm going to be creative, and I have talent. Because one last thing, Walter Mosley was brought into the writer's room of, I want to say, Star Trek Discovery, Season 1. And what he saw in that room disgusted him to the point where he walked away. He said, look, listen, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I have more time on the toilet than you people do have as writers. And you want to dictate to me what I should write and put on scripts? Thank you, but no thank you. And he walked away. So that is an example of the few creators who have talent.
And integrity.
Yes.
Integrity. You have to have an actual passion and integrity to not just sell out just because you need a paycheck.
You also you also have to remember situations like Erica Alexander. I don't know if you guys remember who she is as an actress.
I do.
She played Max on Living Single.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And Cousin Pam on Cosby Show. Her and her husband actually created a dynamic, popular comic book universe, and they shopped it around to Hollywood. They had studios tell them to their face, "Well, we can't produce this. Why? Because nobody believed black people will live in the future in space."
Boom.
Yep. I mean, they literally told them that to their face.
I believe it.
So real is real, Cap. This is what we're working with.
Which goes back to my point about Eric July and his Rippaverse. Because when I see someone like Black Sands, and again, yes, the artwork looks good, but if we're being intellectually honest, the artwork looks like Avatar: The Last Airbender. So it's nothing different. And when you look at his story is a derivative copy, and his villains look like Aku from Samurai Jack. So you know what, dude? Sit down, have a seat, and while you're sitting down having your seat, stop hating on Eric July because he did everything that you tried to do, but he's already done it 10 times better.
Thing about it is, he had too many Dago writers. He made it too freaking friendly for Dago appeal and love. Because if he had kept it, if he wanted to be so derivative of Naruto, which is basically I think what you were trying to say right there, Logic. If he wanted to be so derivative of Naruto and everything else, which the story, if you looked at the story of Black Sands, it's a good story. He has a grandfather that kicked ass. He kicked ass. His grandpa literally beat fucking guys to death with his bare hands. Okay, think about trying to be trained by a guy like that, and the kind of interplay between the both of them, the kind of dynamic between them. That dude, that alone, you could make such an epic story from that, and from him growing from that, and growing with the power of that, and
So
becoming
let me ask,
Pharaoh.
let me
Okay,
stop,
so they
let me stop you there and ask you a question. So
Sure.
what you're telling me is he copied or stole, which is a harsh word, so we'll use copy. He copied the artwork of Last Airbender. He
Mhm.
copied the story from Naruto, and he race swapped the characters to Egyptians and called it Black Sands.
I mean, but yeah. I think the problem here is if I actually, I'll put it like this. It's not my creative product, so I can't say that. But if I was going to go with a dynamic like that,
I'm saying it. I'm 100% saying it. I'm thoroughly familiar with Black Sands and his products, and I'm saying it. It is derivative trash. I'm saying it.
Well, there you go.
I was trying to be nice about it, something like that. But I'm saying if I was doing, I would have done it a completely different way. I
I
would
have
have
lived too
actually,
much life to
yeah,
to spare people's feelings. It
yeah.
is what it
See,
is.
You're
see,
right.
here's what gets me with Black Sands.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the storyline. If you're claiming you're going to make comics that
Mhm.
is, so to speak, gears towards black people or gears towards a black audience,
Mm.
well, why would you create a storyline that is set in Egypt? Now, I'm gonna be honest. Like, unless you're going to be doing something in that time frame, or not time frame, but in that area where it's original and everything, I'm sorry. It's going to be hard to catch someone like me, not a typical black person's attention, because as soon as I see one, you say you making this comment for black people, and then two, the setting is in Egypt, I have an idea of what you're trying to do.
They're not making it for you.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah. Well, hey, dude, good to know, because it's like, I'm sorry, you missed me as soon as I look at it, and the setting is in Egypt.
They're
It's like,
they're
okay,
making it. My bad.
oh no, I was just saying, I get it. You're trying to make some sort of woke comic to make black kids or black people feel good about themselves, and
Mhm.
we was kings and all that stuff.
It's about speaking to a false narrative that's already spoken of people, and going there and then off of what Lawrence was talking about earlier. Whenever an idea was pitched about black, Hollywood saying, black people, nobody's gonna believe black people being in space, and now you see the problem of why you can't have a black Hollywood, because the only thing that black people are gonna buy is the Medea type stuff.
Which brings up
Yeah, actually, that's where I was about to go myself. And thank you for muting me up. I thought I muted. I'm so sorry,
which
guys.
brings up a very interesting point, because at the time, personally, I am not a fan of Spike Lee. I know a lot of things about him personally behind the scenes. However, I have separation and discernment. Bamboozled was a good film, and that was a film black people needed to see. It was a smack in the effing face. But instead of going to see it, they literally said, "We don't need Spike preaching us." People went to go see Soul Plane in record numbers.
Yeah.
And that's how Kevin Hart got his start. But one thing before we walk away from it, going back to something that Eric July said, and to add on to something that Truism said, also Sigma Jones. Here's the thing, right? If you're going to make a story about mythologies, and Eric July, and I hope that he does it, African countries do have mythologies other than ancient Egypt. For example, there are the Orishas. that is a mythology that is ripe for stories that can be told, and you don't even need superheroes. You can make earthbound stories, or you can make superheroes, but it is ripe. The same way that we have stories of Greek mythology, and the same way we have stories of Norse mythology. Excuse me. We can also have stories of Orisha mythology, and that's just one mythology out of several that are African that can be done, and that people of all ethnicities, if done right, will eat up.
Well, okay. First of all, giving away ideas for free.
Yeah.
Especially considering I'm working with those very characters you just talked about. I'm working with those characters right now. But the thing about it is that you logic is right. Those characters are available, and we've seen it work well. If you look at the old Static Shock cartoon, they introduced Anansi. And then in addition to that, if you just do, I mean, even the most basic research, there's thousands upon thousands. I'm talking like double digits of characters available in the public domain that anybody can use and redo and retool and copyright them for themselves. I mean, you know, the opportunity is there.
Do you realize?
I think that at the end of the day, it's a variety of things. It's everything we've talked about, and it's also the corporations and the people behind those corporations kind of forcing this kind of divide to begin with, because they think it brings profitability of some kind, and it just doesn't. I mean, because that's one of the things I was telling Sigma before we started about the similarities between what he wanted to discuss and what I wanted to discuss with the whole fan baiting thing. It's like they go out of their way to make sure to change the gender and the races and swapping because they want us to get upset. Because for them, they think it's hate watching. They think it's clicks and views. They think it's pandering to the most base people on Twitter and everything. And it's all of those things and above. But the thing that comes into question is that how long do you get to push that kind of agenda before people start pushing back and looking at you and go, well, if you're baiting us, then doesn't that make you racist as well when you tell us we won't accept what you're doing?
No, let me hit you with this. So I have been following the Disney Parks story since 2009. So as of 2011, there was serious talks at the board of directors level of closing Disney Tokyo and Euro Disney in Everett because the parks were not making the money. Marvel was the cash cow. Marvel. It is only within the last 12 to 18 months that the parks are now making money. But now here's what I want to see. I personally want to see 18 to 24 months going forward, whether those numbers hold. Because personally, I don't buy them. I don't believe them. And at the last at the last corporate meeting 1 month ago, the Disney CEO said that Marvel was nowhere near the cash cow. ESPN and the parks were the cash cow. So here's the thing, right? You can only push all of this woke garbage for so long before the backlash starts to build and it no longer becomes profitable.
Well, because you can't just keep antagonizing the majority of the population. The majority of the population is heterosexual.
I've been waiting for someone to say that.
Well, you can't be putting this nonsense to people, because eventually, look, I'm heterosexual. My wife is heterosexual. My children are heterosexual. Everyone around me is a heterosexual person. They're interested in the interplay of man and woman and the things that come about from that. No one is interested in seeing anything between two men, two women, some dude that wants to go back and forth, some chick that wants to go back and forth. That isn't our life. That's only a small percentage of the population that even cares about that. And even they don't even support that.
Here's where I'm going to disagree. I got to play the bad guy that I do so well, I think.
Okay.
Pete, look, we have to begin to accept that a lot of people are stupid. And we can't act like that propaganda doesn't work. Because if it didn't, you wouldn't have Hitler becoming a Fuhrer.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, but on to that point, Hitler did not solely become the Führer based on propaganda.
I agree.
There was an economic situation, and the country was ripe for what he had to say, and what he had to say actually made the most sense compared to anything coming out of the Weimar Republic government. So it was not pure propaganda.
I got
He
you.
actually became chancellor on his own merits. And he did rebuild the country. All of that seems to be forgotten. Now,
So the time was right for him to do it. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Oh, my bad.
Now, when he slowly started getting more and more tyrannical, well, that's when the propaganda helped to push that along. But he rebuilt the country. He got the country back to economic self-sufficiency. So becoming more and more tyrannical, that's when the propaganda helped the people follow along until they woke up one day and said, "Oh crap, we have the Gestapo. We have the
And
SS."
I tell you something, Eisen. I tell you something, Eisen. In conjunction with what you, I don't disagree with what you said about people being stupid because they are.
Neither do I.
Yeah, but we have to be honest about something as well. There are people who are not stupid. They want to do this. They want to be this way. They make they make that decision every morning they wake up.
Hey, look, you can still be stupid and want to be that way too.
Yeah.
Now, but
No,
here's the thing.
no. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. But I'm just saying that there are some people who are not necessarily stupid and make the decision every morning. There are people that this is a concrete plan for them. This is what they want to do. They want it to be this way.
Oh yeah. No. Those are few and far in between though that have the mind to actually. And the thing is, and what Logic was pointing at about the timing of everything, I would say the timing of everything for this narrative is just right. So that's what I'm saying. It is. So that's why I pointed to the Hitler situation as well, because of the timing of it, and with the whole rainbow thing, that narrative of it, they have power. That's why they're able to shove it down your throat like this.
Yeah.
Which brings me to two quick points. So one point, a conversation that I had with Sigma over a year ago. When you're having an intellectual conversation, excuse me, when you're having an intellectual conversation, if you keep raising the level, you keep elevating your thinking and raising the level of the conversation, everyone is going to follow you, and they're going to keep elevating the level of their thinking, raising the level of the conversation. They can only go to the highs to the point that their mind will allow them to comprehend. And you will see this. The first person who starts to make stupid jokes and goofy jokes to make everyone laugh, because we all like to laugh. Hey, great. But what you're missing is the fact that that person can no longer follow you as you keep elevating the level of the conversation. And that's why they're trying to bring it back down to the base level. So those are not stupid people, but what they are people who reached a point where they understand what you're saying is over their head. And they don't want to, they either can't understand it or they don't want to exhibit the brain power to understand it. So they would rather just lower the conversation back down to a base level with stupid jokes and stupid conversation. And that is the majority of people. The dumb people, it's you.
So my thing is,
so I'm just gonna after all that, I'm just gonna take my toys and go home now.
and see what I was and what I was going. Oh my bad. And what I was going off of was when you said that, you know, about them not being able to. I mean, what the definition of not being able to learn anymore is stupid, right?
Oh
no, it's not.
I'm not trying
actually,
to. That was a question.
No. It's actually it's not.
I'm continuing. I'm continuing the conversation.
Oh no, you cool.
It's not that they're at a point where they can't learn anymore. They're at a point where their understanding, it becomes difficult for them. For example, I am not an I'm not a biochemist. Biochemistry is hard for me, but for a biochemist, it's child's play.
Right.
Now, if we're talking anything that requires rational thinking or critical thinking skills, most people are only going to elevate their thinking to a point where thinking becomes difficult for them. So at that point, they make the conscious choice to not continue to follow you, because for you or I or say JJ or Truism, we can keep elevating the level of the conversation and increasing the height of what we're thinking at. Because for us, it's easy. But for people, it's not easy. So rather than think hard and elevate their thinking, they're just going to resort to base thinking and make a dumb joke and just bring the conversation back down.
You got to understand. I'm sorry, you first.
No, Lawrence, go right ahead. Go right ahead, because I want to transition to a topic that kind of relates, but go right ahead.
Okay, well, I just wanted to piggyback off what Logic was saying, because, and I agree, because the trick here is that you got two types of people in those kind of situations. So like the person Logic was talking about exists. Unfortunately, there's more of them than the one I'm about to talk about. And the one I was talking about is like, it would include all of us here on the panel. See, if there's a conversation being had and each of us keeps elevating the conversation to the next level, what happens is not what Logic's talking about, which are the other people. What generally happens with us is that we'll stop, explain that to me. We'll stop. I'm not understanding it. Help me figure it out. Or we'll go look it up and come back and finish the conversation, or 6 after a dozen, because we have that desire to keep moving up. So that's what I'm saying. There's two types of people. There's what I'm talking about, and there's what Logic's talking about. Unfortunately, there's more of Logic's people. As much as I hate to say that, but that's the case.
And that is, if we're being intellectually honest, that is the majority of people on this planet.
Yeah.
That is the majority of the people who you interact with on a daily basis. It's the majority of people you interact with in your personal life, in your professional life, in your casual life. If we're being intellectually honest, that is the majority of the people that exist on this planet.
So that kind of brings up a topic, and I hate using this topic, but I think it kind of helps to correlate what Logic and Lawrence is talking about. You go on Black YouTube. What is the most biggest topics that Black YouTube likes to talk about? One.
You say you made it plural. There's no plural with this. There's no plural with this. They talk about one thing and one thing only.
The Strag.
And the funny part about that is, and I'm not trying to cut you off, Sigma. I'm just saying. Only one. There's no plural conversation in that space. There's only one, and that one leads into everything else. But it always comes back to that one. There's no plural there. I don't care if you're talking about a house. I don't care if you're talking about getting a bag. I don't care if you're talking about clothes. I don't care if you're talking about passports, whatever. It always comes back. Boom. There's only one conversation, bro.
So in other words, Lawrence, wait. So otherwise, Lawrence, you saying when you go into these YouTube topics, they be like this.
Extra.
Yes.
So
these are all fruits of the same poisonous tree.
Yeah, but it's true. It's true though.
Here is my issue, and here is my point. It's the reason why I'm not subscribed to any of it. It's the reason why you don't see me any of it. Because at the end of the day, it is base and it is mindless. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what is the lowest of the 5 levels? Self-survival, food, recreation, and procreation. The most basic human needs. I don't care how many ways you want to hate on women, or women want to hate on men, or you want to beg for reparations and call for this name or that, or the anything else. Why are you not talking about economy? Why are you not talking about education? Why are you not talking about family? People have been studying this. When I say people, I mean social scientists, people who have alphabets after their name, doctors, social.
I go you too.
Thrive in families. So if you're not talking families and creating wealth and travel and reading books and education and science. Listen, 100 years from now, 100 years from right now, this is 2022, 100 years from now, we will have colonies on the moon, colonies on Mars, and we will be mining asteroids for resources. Black people will have the lowest skill, lowest wage jobs, crying about men and women and begging for reparations. And nothing will change. And you're going to wonder why no one respects you. That's why I don't have these conversations. I don't care to have them because they are mindless to me. How many 25-hour live streams can you complain about women this and women that? I mean, give me that.
25! Don't make it do 48.
Give me an effing break.
Hey, look. Well, look. I mean, he's not wrong. I've been saying that for a minute, and I mean, and just to go from the opposite end of where Doc's coming from, I'm talking as a guy who was in that space, and I left it like a little over a year ago. Haven't looked back.
Yeah.
Because when I listen to, and I don't want to call out names because that ain't what this stream is about, but there are YouTubers out there in the space, and here's the thing: if you want me to. If you want me to take you seriously and you talking about economics, then I should hear the name Thomas Sowell come out your mouth. If I don't hear that, you're a liar. Okay. No. Hold on. You need to name people in your economics that you're calculating, that you're talking about. I don't care what PhD you have. I don't care what school you went to. I don't care if you come from the hood. I don't care. All your information has to be backed up with data and the list of the people that the data came from. Because if not, you're just somebody who heard a couple of talking points and sound bites and want to come in here and have a conversation like you know what you're talking about. And I don't have time for that. It vexes me. It vexes me to the point that you make me want to catch a flight just cause. So I think, and I think moving back into the topic of conversation, that's the problem we have here with the race swapping of characters. That's what we have here with the gender swapping, because you're coming in and trying to tell me that you care about how I feel, that my community is important for representation, and yet you give me nothing to prove that's the case. It's just talk. Because if you did care about it, I wouldn't have 16, 27, 54 Superman, Batman in movies instead of having at least one Black Lightning. You're not going to tell me I get the umpteenth X-Men movie, but can't give me Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau. It's disingenuous. If you are behind it, then give me those characters. Don't tell me what I need. Give me what I told you.
So I want to ask one quick question.
Okay.
I've seen 1,000 Thor movies, 1,000 Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. I grew up with them. I love them all. But here's the thing, to back up to what Lawrence just said. Why don't I see Chango? Why don't I see Anansi? Why don't I see Ogun? Why don't I see Oya?
You have to read about them.
Yeah.
Well,
So hold that thought. So hold that thought. We are joined by Dr. Phoenix, the host for the Culture Bombs and everything. Dr. Phoenix, how's it going, good sir?
Good, I am well. How's everyone doing tonight?
Shalom, man. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I know it's been a while. I've been a bit busy, been a bit indisposed at the moment, but yeah, I got some time tonight. And I'm glad that you guys are having this conversation again. I missed the first discussion you guys had in relation to this, but my comments earlier, and to Logic's point and to Lawrence Guy's point, kind of pretty much highlight what my conclusions were, which is that these things take imagination. And I give you an example. George Lucas came up with the idea from Star Wars. It was based on his travels. So in particular, his travels to Japan and Morocco, which is why if one of the principal settings for the Star Wars universe is Tatooine. Tatooine is basically Morocco. So anyone that's ever been to Morocco, I used to live in Morocco. Long story, but I'm very familiar with Morocco. And I will tell you from personal experience, if you go there, and you, especially if you go to some more rural parts of Morocco, for example, you'll see the way the people live. People live and dress very similar to how you saw the folks were in Tatooine and such like that, where they have the long overcoats, the jalabas, or the women are in both men and women, they wear what they call jalabas, which are these long overgarments, but they're designed to protect you from the sun, obviously from the heat. But the point is that he was able to take his travels and he was able to craft this entire universe that, from the very first time when I saw the very first Star Wars film as a kid back in the late 80s, I was really, really young, but when was that? The point is that when I first saw the very first Star Wars film, it immediately captured my imagination. And I have been a long fan of anime since the days of when the only time you can watch anime in the US was you better have cable and you better have the Sci-Fi Channel and you can watch it late at night. That was the only, back in the day, in the 90s, that was the only time you can actually watch anime until you had Cartoon Network and Funimation came along in the late 90s, and they basically took anime mainstream with the Toonami series. So, and what I'm saying is that even although I agree with pretty much everything that Lawrence Guy and what Logic's Findings has said about the lack of opportunity, even when given the opportunity, writers are still held to within certain parameters. They have to contextualize characters in a certain way. But when they're independent, as in you guys gave the example of was it the White Sands? Because I'm very familiar with that. I've given to some of their crowdfundings in the past. I was subscribed to them on Instagram for years. Then I unsubscribed from them a few years back because it just became very clear that they were placating to women, Black women in particular.
Yep.
And it was really placating to this Hotep community, and it wasn't really anything outside of what you haven't already heard Hoteps talk about, because they would talk to you forever and a day about ancient Kemet and Shango and all these folks and all these deities of African mythology and legend, but yet you've never been able to see these folks put these things into writing and to create a universe. What Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Frank Miller, some of the great comic book writers, Chris Claremont, have done in the past. And so again, that is my fundamental problem with Black writers, even when they're 100% independent. Now the Riververse, which I've been following him for the past few months, I'm very familiar with his work. Actually, very impressed by what he did, and it's pretty impressive if he got a bunch of white folks behind him, because white folks don't normally support Black independent stuff like that, unless it's really good or they can see some benefit from it. But the fact is that he got a lot of young white males behind him, kind of speaks to the quality. And yeah, you had the folks from White Sands go after him, and you throw the usual C word,
and that was
that those folks like to do. But
was some bullshit. That was some purity bullshit what he did.
I agree.
Something that you just said though, this goes back. Excuse me. This goes back to something that I said. If we look at some of the all-time greats, so now I'm talking C.S. Lewis, H.G. Wells,
Gene Roddenberry,
Frank Herbert. Roddenberry to me he's okay. Realistically, he's okay. My point here is these men were influenced by the world around them, by the events that were around them, and there was a word that you said there: travel. They all traveled. Ian Fleming was in MI6 during the war. John le Carre was in MI6 during the war. George Orwell, again, was in MI6 during the war. And I know The World Loves 1984. To me personally, Animal Farm is his better work.
Yeah, I had to read Animal Farm as a high school, and I really enjoyed the book.
My point here is, most Americans don't travel. That's a fact. And Black people don't even leave their own darn cities, much less travel. So if you exist within the black box and you have these blinders on and your world is through the lens of what the race hustlers tell you, and you exist in this black box and you have this typical American black experience, you have no exposure to the wider world and the culture and the experiences of everything that should influence you to spark your creativity.
Yeah.
Now, again, full.
Yeah, I mean that.
Yeah.
I mean that is that myopia that you see oftentimes in Black America.
Bingo. And I get called
Well-
conservatives or anything else when I say exactly that.
And to that point, that's why whenever Doc Phoenix was talking about the lack of creativity, the one thing all of us here can say is that all of these these genres that we name, there is a passion and an interest in them. You're not going to spark any creativity out of people that don't have any interest in it, because it's not, quote unquote, ain't what Black people do. You know,
Well, I mean,
it's
it's a bit more insidious than that. It's not even just this isn't what Black people do, but think about all of us here. You like comics, you like anime, you like sci-fi. Pick your vice here. But think about the names that get called to, especially for Black males who like this. Think about how you get ridiculed, how you get criticized. All the names Black folks have come up to describe Black folks of this ilk for years now. You know,
It's
you're a
one
nerd.
word. It's one word. Let's give it a name. It's one word. Let's all say it together on three. 1, 2, 3.
Like,
Cool.
oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, I was.
No,
yes.
I mean, yes.
Well, I think-
yeah.
Well, I think.
Wait,
I
Lawrence,
think.
go right ahead.
I think. How can I put this? It's one of those situations where, when you do talk about Black creators, notice how the conversation is always about performances. It's either a voice actor, an actual actor, that cameraman, that kind of thing, but never from a creative perspective, as in the person who created the universes, who wrote the stories. And and we saw this coming actually in the 90s. If you remember Deep Space Nine, and I can't remember the episode name, but it was when Benjamin Sisko had gone back in time to be Benny, the writer at Amazing Stories.
That was a good
And how they wouldn't believe him that a Black captain could be in charge of a space station and all that good. I mean, we saw, like I said, man, Hollywood always tells you what's going to happen way ahead. They always do, whether it be film or TV. They always show you what's coming.
But
and I think that's really the magic of.
Can I interject something here? And this has really hits home for me my entire life based on my upbringing, which was not typical American Black experience. I literally don't know what that is. My thing is, it is cultural, because people consume what they want. Black people want a very limited, narrow of consumable material. Black people don't want sci-fi. They don't want superheroes.
Agreed.
They don't want to see creatives. They don't want drama. They only want anything. It has to have a Black face, and it has to be poor. It has to be struggle. It has to be slavery.
It has to be no. Here's the word. Here's the word you're looking for. Black people only want to consume what diminishes.
Familiar?
Let's call it for what it is, because at the end of the day,
what
diminishes? I mean, it might be familiar, but at the end of the day, it's always something that diminishes us. It's got to be a dude in a dress. It's got to be Timberlands. It's got to be a $50,000 car when they're only making $15,000 a year. It's got to be gold chains and gold teeth. It's always something. It's always something that diminishes us and brings us down to a base level.
Right. And you need a character that talks like this.
Can I just interject something really quick?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Doc.
No, I just wanted to say this really quickly. For those of us that are millennials like myself, that are in your 30s, maybe maybe in your mid latter 20s or
Yeah,
whatsoever.
whippersnappers.
You probably remember in high school. You probably remember in high school that
Breath all smelling like Similac.
Wet behind the ears. Is
you
another
remember in high school that there was a series of books written by a woman called Zane. And those of us of that age group, you're probably familiar with this, that she wrote all these hood relationship books, if you will, about the ghetto love.
I don't know nothing about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
nope. I don't know nothing
But
about
ask
that.
anybody in their 30s, they probably know about this.
Yeah, man.
I did actually. It's more than it. I mean, it's after my time for sure. But I've known way too many people who know about those books, and they were everywhere. They
were ubiquitous. I mean, there was, you could not find a black female when I was in high school that didn't know about these books, didn't read these books, were not addicted to these books.
She
And
was as hot as a shining star for about 18 to 24 months.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I'll never forget that, because that really highlights the what I talk about, the lack of creativity. Because even when you look at somebody more contemporary like Tyler Perry, all of his stuff, all of his work is about one character and how he built this entire production universe around this one character.
But I will say this again: if we're being intellectually honest, yes, it's a comedy. Yes, there's exaggeration. Yes, there's extremes. But if we're being intellectually honest, the basic foundation and the background, that's typical.
Familiar.
Black America.
Familiar.
It's typical.
And that is
It's
the
not
point that I'm-
exaggerated
and
too
it's
much,
not
really.
even that
that is the point that I'm getting at.
normal. It's typical. It's
Yeah, and that is the point I'm
because
getting at,
it's
Logic
typical.
Finance, is that
It's normal. It is the reality. It is not that far of a stretch from the reality. Now, another thing, the Cosby Show to this day.
Well, Logic.
Hold
on one second. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but Doc Phoenix didn't get to finish his point. I'm sorry. I wanted to hear it. I'm sorry.
Apologies.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, and that was what you had just stated right there, Logic, was really my point, was that this is the typical experience. This is that black box, if you will, where everything in Black America just has to be this, it has to come from this point of struggle, has to come from this point of conflict. If it doesn't have this element of struggle and conflict to it, it just isn't authentic. It isn't real, if you will.
Okay,
So can I ask?
before
So can I?
Oh, okay,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, Lawrence, and then I have to go right after you. So go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. So we're talking about what we hear in the other space about digging it out the mud.
Can I?
Or am I misunderstanding?
No,
Go
you're
ahead.
right. That's
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. But let me just do this real quick because we got some more people that come up. So, Friezo Lou, I gotta do your intro, good sir. Welcome to the panel.
Are you aware of the proper method that one should use to eliminate weeds? You see, weeds, when left unchecked, will rob the flower of its proper nutrients. So what do? If you uproot the weed, then you disturb the flower. Its roots and soil don't like to be interfered with. So, what do? You learn to plant flowers that utilize the weeds as a form of nourishment. Take a look. This flower is an example of a beautiful exterior masking its true intentions. Intentions that are really quite brutal.
Mr. Friezo, how's it going, sir?
Salute.
Salute to everybody, man. How's it going?
Shalom.
Good evening.
Friezo.
Well, good afternoon, but
Man, Y'all up here cooking, man. Y'all up here cooking, man. I've been so busy. I was trying to get up here sooner, but y'all cooking. All I'll say is this, and I'll let y'all rock. One of the biggest things that Black America wants is that they run on hope. Hope with no action. So as long as you can sell them the dream, as long as you can sell them the hope that one day something will happen, they cool. And they just go from hope to hope to hope. Whatever dream production you can do, one dream production to another dream production to another dream production with a little bit of Medea entertainment in the middle. That's all they want. That's it.
So, there was a point that I really want to drive home, and I think I want to thank you, Lou, because what I'm going to say helps to drive home my point. The Cosby Show, to this day, is still the highest rated television show in the history of television. Now, Roots is the highest, but Roots was not an actual series. So the highest rated series to this day in history is still The Cosby Show. And when The Cosby Show came on air, there was one group who said, it's not real, it's not realistic, we want something realistic, and that was Black people. So in response,
Get out of there.
we got the Flip Wilson Show, which only lasted for one season. But the Flip Wilson Show was basically Good Times being made in 1985, which was the second year of the Cosby Show. That's all that was. Black people said, oh no, we can't have a Black doctor married to a Black lawyer with 5 kids, none of whom are on drugs, none of whom are sex crazy, all of whom don't have their pants sagging and speak clear, coherent English because they speak in an English-speaking country. They're not poor. They're not savages. They don't act like most Black people. Oh my God. And Black people hated it, and they hated on the Cosby Show. And that's why you had the Wilson Show, which lasted one season. Okay? So, again, that's why you don't see me anywhere engaging in these conversations, because it all stems from the same one BS topic. How many times can people have 25-hour live streams begging about women and crying about women?
Okay, that's a good break. That's a good break because we got another guest up here, and it is my man, Mr. Ash the Man. What's going on, Ash?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Hey, shalom.
What's going on?
Hey,
Good evening, Ash. What's good?
Hey, I'm glad you came up, Ash, because you and JJ, you guys are definitely from the background of like the video games, and you know a lot about that industry and all. So definitely, I wanted to get your input. It relates to the discussion of how gamers also see the same thing as far as like creators of games creating like fan baiting, like intentionally creating woke content and everything to try to bait people to hate watch or hate play in regards to that. So definitely, if you got time, give your thoughts on it.
Oh man, a very big topic here. I guess we can say when it comes to like entertainment wise, especially for the Black man, we don't know how to think outside the box. Like I'm gonna refer to, like you said, video games, because that's something that like you said, I play a lot. And when it comes down to it, what's the normal game that a Black guy plays?
Sports. Easy.
NBA,
Madden, basketball,
basketball, 2K, Madden,
anything 2K.
21, whatever.
Right.
basketball.
Anything that has to do with
Anything
sports or crime,
related, basically.
sports or crime,
Yeah.
sports or crime, or violence.
And if he's outside the box, Call of Duty.
That's what I'm saying.
If he wants to
Sports
expand
violence
outside the
crime.
box.
Yeah.
Right. Like for me, it's like with that being said, that's kind of like the most generic way of looking at it. And that's why I don't think like entertainment value will ever get anything like creative when it comes to it. Like for myself, one of my favorite games that I have played in most recent years is Danganronpa. I had streamed it back when I first started streaming on YouTube, and I did the third one probably a year ago. And you'd be surprised, if it's not dealing with, throwing a football, dribbling a football, I mean basketball, I said football, but anything like that, we really don't. So I think we just need to just broaden our horizon. It's plenty of other games and other sources of entertainment besides the normal, interests that we can definitely build on and actually bring to the table to have more of an attraction when it comes to it.
In other words, they lack imagination.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're
They
gonna
only
keep
want
coming back
comfort.
to this because, look, in my line of work, and I can tell you from my wife, she oftentimes sees children who have genetic issues, have developmental issues, whatever, and when and sometimes she'll call me and she'll like, "Have you ever heard of this condition?" I'm like, "Wow, this is something maybe I looked over in the textbooks or something," but But the point is that when she interacts with these children, it is the same issue. They they can't even fathom seeing a black person who actually has a couple of dollars, let alone who doesn't drive some beat up ass car living in the hood some damn where. They can't fathom that.
Right.
And that is such a critical part as to why so many black children and these folks ultimately become adolescents and adults later in life, where they grow into adulthood and they can't never seem to get any traction.
Can I add on to that? So if you look at Black American dysfunctional culture, is what I call it, the black box. So from what I see, right, they don't read comics, they don't read books, but that's not exclusive to black people. Globally, people don't read books. Fair enough. But they have their own black box. They don't like sci-fi. They don't really like drama unless it's some poor, ratchet garbage. They don't like love stories. They don't like art, history.
Anime.
Definitely don't travel. Don't like any music that's not R&B or trap death music. So you don't have people who have the desire to create anything other than that. So if you don't have the desire to create anything other than that, and you're not consuming anything other than that, so again, it's a case of the cat chasing its own tail. Because so now, if you're a studio exec and they're a-holes, let's be honest, all right? I'm no big fan of studio execs, but if all they care about is money, and they see black people want Medea, they want that show Power, they want that show Snowfall or Snowflake or whatever it is, they want crime, death, and destruction, and Tyler Perry. So you know what? That's what we're going to give them. So the few creative people who do come through, what do they create? They create the very same thing. So again, it's a case of the cat chasing its own tail. So what
Why
Doc
would they
says
create
about-
anything else if that's all they want?
Exactly.
I mean, by definition, they're pigeonholed. I do agree with that.
And they pigeonhole themselves, and that's cultural. And that is not, I'm going to say it again, that is not systemic racism. That is not the legacy of slavery. That's not any of that garbage. You do that to yourselves. Black people, you do it to yourselves. Okay? Because when you see someone who comes along and a black person and you're wearing a Doctor Who shirt, why are you wearing a shirt with white men on it? Why aren't you wearing Malcolm X and MLK? Like, what? What are you talking about? And if you're reading a book, why are you reading that book? So again, it's a case of a cat chasing its own tail.
Yeah,
they-
and I
Man, black.
don't think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was
No,
just
I was gonna say real quick, man. Black people still fall for the whole trailer trick, where you see a trailer and you're like, "Oh shit, this looks like it's gonna be the movie of the year. I gotta see this." And then you see it, you're like, "Man, that's the worst movie I've ever seen." And then the
Okay.
next trailer comes out, they go, "Oh shit, this gonna be the one." And they just keep doing that.
Okay, Isaac, you go right ahead, and I got something right afterwards. So go ahead.
All right, and I was just gonna say to the point where I think that Logic was getting at it, also that Dr. Phoenix was getting at. They just don't have a desire for anything new and creative. So whenever you don't have a desire to absorb any new sources of entertainment, whether it be from books or something else in general, you're not going to have that creativity there at all or imagination.
And you know, there's something else, right? So there was a show. I liked the show. I thought it was a very good show. It was called American Gods. So
Yeah.
Orlando
Gaiman.
Jones.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Standing role as Anansi. Who knew that he could actually act? Anyway, in season 2 or season 3, whatever it was, he had a lot of ad libs and a lot of the monologues and statements that he was making about black people and this black situation in America. A lot of that was ad libbed, and the producer of the show let him do it because newsflash, it's scripted television. Everything that goes on air, the producer had to approve it. If he didn't approve it, we would never see it on air. So for the next season, and if you actually read the book, Mr. Orlando Jones, you would know Anansi is not in the last part of the book. So the producer was going to write his character off the show anyway. Orlando Jones took to social media. White boy fired me because I was lighting too much fire under his ass. And black people soaked it up. And they would say, I only watched that show just to watch Orlando Jones. Oh, so you're telling me.
Hold on a second, Logic, because you went on a tirade and I'm sorry, no disrespect, but Sigma said he wanted to do something.
Right. Yeah, and just hold that thought, Logic Fighters. But Free Zone brought up something about how people watch trailers and they just assume it's going to be a great movie. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example of something that recently just happened. The Woman King.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Now, I'm going there. I'm going there, JJ. Now, if you watch the trailer and everything, right off the rip, you know it is geared towards certain demographics and everything. But here's what's so confusing. Okay, if you get a chance to go read the synopsis of the movie. To make the long story short, it's about a group of women tribe who are fighting for the right to continue owning slaves.
Ooh.
Ouch.
How would that? I'm just gonna be honest. How in the world am I supposed to relate to something like that?
Oh, I got you right here.
I'm sorry, Eisen. Just give me one quick second. I'm sorry, my brain.
I kind of thought about that too, but
my brain kind of threw off. Logic, you still there, right?
Yes, sir.
My apologies. I don't know why I said you were on a tirade. You weren't on a tirade. I don't know why I said that. It's wrong.
Oh,
choice of
no.
words.
No.
No, you gotta, man.
Okay.
We were talking about black people. I don't generally talk about. That's why I've been so quiet. My brain just can't deal with it, man. And I guess I went into a dark place with it, but I just wanted to apologize. That was a really poor choice of words to use. I don't know why I said that.
No worries.
yeah.
Worries. No, listen.
Yeah.
No worries.
You guys go back to it, man. Like I'm just gonna sit here because I can't.
The interesting thing about that movie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, what was that? The interesting thing about that movie, The Woman King, is based on the Bell Home people which is now modern day Benin. But again, the movie pretty much distorts history for the most part. But with that said, the movie was clearly written by white women. So white women were the writers for this film.
Interesting.
And here's the funny part. White women wrote a black feminist take on a group of people.
Don't tell
were
me
slave
that.
traders.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, the movie was written by white women. You go look this up. It was written by white women, but it's white women writing a black woman's writing about a black feminist take on a group of people who were slave traders.
Now,
Yeah, and from what I've seen, by and large, the black women ain't rolling with it. It's getting a lot of pushback, even from black women. So,
Wait a minute, hold on, wait.
Because the whole movie completely distorts the history of the Delhome people in the tribe. These guys were quite literally, these guys were responsible for selling more than 1 million or so black people from throughout various countries in Africa, the African continent, into slavery. And so, but I find it interesting that you got a lot of black women supporting it, though you do got a lot out here that are really giving this movie a lot of pushback, rightfully so. But I think it's very ironic when a white woman can dictate a black woman's beliefs.
I don't think
that's because it's Maria Bello. It's because it's Maria Bello. I mean, Maria Bello has been a diehard feminist forever. I mean, and I don't know if you guys know her as an actress, but if you remember The Last Mummy with Brandon Fraser, she's the chick who took over for Rachel Weisz.
I remember her. Yes,
that's Maria Bello. And the thing is that it's. You know what? I don't even have to. I'll leave it with this. It cost $50 million to make. It opened up on September 9th and September 16th, and it only made 19 out of the 50. That answers everything.
That's a pretty solid budget for a black film. They usually don't give black films that big of a budget.
Right, but listen to what I'm saying. For two separate opening weekends, depending on the location, you've only made 19 million.
Can I revisit something that I stated earlier? Stan Lee created the Black Panther. It's the only character he created completely by himself. The Black Panther movie was written by a couple of screenwriters. It was greenlit by Kevin Feige, who then hired Ryan Coogler to make the movie that Kevin Feige wanted. Relate that to The Woman King with Maria Bello. That's all I have to say.
Now, what I wanted to say was
basically you got white creative ideas with black faces.
Now,
but go right ahead.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make was how Dr. Phoenix was stating, how it was historically inaccurate. But I do find it very humorous that it is very much accurate as today. Because when you look at the narrative, look, the Woman King own you. And
he said the Woman King own you.
You gotta bow down on your knees.
Woo.
And these dudes, they show everything they do everything to show that they don't mind being owned.
Oh no.
And I think that was some of the major criticism of the movie was that the men were subservient and weak.
But that's very accurate today. That's why I said that. Yeah.
No. I mean, I think,
and I believe you'd agree.
I think you guys have pretty much made that pretty clear, especially Logic's Finance talking about, the 24-hour hangout or whatever people do these days. I don't know, but the point is that you have modern day contemporary black men who have no problem placating and playing second fiddle to black women.
second fiddle is too nice.
Here we go.
They don't
No,
mind
you
being
got
the third place.
you got to yeah. They're not playing second fiddle. They're playing worshipers. You got to call it for what it is.
Yes, that's much more
Um,
accurate.
you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
No, seriously.
The term
I
you're
mean,
looking for is drone. That's what you're looking for.
no.
No,
Just
servant.
drone. Yeah,
Servant.
No,
yeah,
Be that
exactly.
a drone. No, this ain't the drone because drone. What do drone bees do? They do nothing but serve the queen. They
No,
serve
As a matter of fact,
I
and
think
they
all
serve
of those
and
terms
they
are
pleasure the
applicable.
queen. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
all of
fair.
those terms are
as
applicable.
a matter of fact, here's an interesting part too. When they interviewed Viola Davis about the movie, she
Oh,
said this
geez.
movie was about two things that stuck out to me: woman empowerment, of course, but she also said black love.
Oh
But she
no.
did another interview
That
after that
exists?
where she did another interview after that where she made an underhanded comment. It was real sly about if we don't go see this, we're misogynists, we're this, we're that. Yeah, I mean,
I
look,
thought
man,
I thought
this is
Okay.
what this
Okay.
is what they do. I mean, it's just what they do.
They
And like I
do
said,
some talk.
look, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. You know,
I
if
mean,
we
you're
don't,
still hearing this rhetoric now, Lawrence guy. I mean, right now, as everyone know, I'm in Georgia, and so you have midterms coming up in a couple months, and specifically here in Georgia, you have the governor's race. So everyone knows that this is one of the most talked about gubernatorial races out right now around, which is Brian Kemp versus Stacey Abrams.
Mhm.
And basically, the problem is that Stacey Abrams lost back in 2016 because she didn't get enough black men to vote for her. They wouldn't just outright say it, but they knew why she lost. One, she didn't get a lot. She didn't get the white women. Two, she didn't get enough black men. And so right now, she's claiming that if black men vote for her, she'll win. But the fundamental problem is that basically it's very underhanded and condescending the way it gets directed at black men, which is that basically you need to vote for us. And then they started talking some whole crap about abortion, which I was meaning to tackle this a few months ago on a culture bomb, but I haven't had the opportunity. But I might just revisit this depending on what happens for the midterm.
If I can bring this
but I
back
will
to
say this is that there's always this idea where for black men, if you dare to be independent, think independently, think independently of your true slave master, the black woman.
Oh snap!
You are not getting that invitation to the cookout, or even worse, we just withhold our attention and you won't get any sex from us.
And that's absolutely
this is why,
fine.
That's crazy.
This is why, even when just to bring this back full circle, when you did about this being the state of black entertainment, and specifically why you have, even when black men are in independent roles, they still placate to black women.
Which if I could bring it back to that point, right? So Viola Davis makes the claim that this film was about black love. But now here's the thing. You had a film. It came out in 1997. It was called Love Jones. It was a very good film.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was college educated. Everyone had a job. There was a complex relationship. It didn't have a happy ending. It had a complex ending. No one was on drugs. It was a very good love story. Black people refused to go see it. White people went to go see it. So again, if you were a studio exec, why would you make a movie about black love when black people themselves refuse to go see it? That's why we haven't seen any black love films since Love Jones. Now,
there's only
45 years ago.
There was another one. There was another one, but it still leaned more towards hustling, and that was Eddie Murphy's Boomerang. That did make money.
That was a comedy, though. That was a comedy. It doesn't count.
But
it was still a love story.
I want to go back to what Free Zone was talking about when Viola Davis said that this was a movie about black love. In that movie, it was no real black love going on there. It was black women fighting black men. So what they're really saying is that black love, like Pat Benatar said, love is a battlefield. That's what the fuck they're trying to say.
Okay, well, staying on that point, staying on that point. So here's the thing, right?
Mhm.
If you keep as men, if you keep giving men these weak roles,
Uh-huh.
when I say these weak role models in
Yeah.
films, okay,
Uh-huh.
what's gonna happen is you're seeing the self-actualization of that old saying, that being that bad times create strong men.
Strong men.
Strong men create good times.
Mhm.
Good times create
Make
weak men.
men.
And weak men create bad
Bad
times.
times.
So right now we have a bunch of weak men and we're in
Oh, bad
bad
time.
times.
Yeah,
So
man.
the next cycle will be the next cycle of strong men to take us out of this current bad times.
Well, okay. Yes, that's true. That's true. The question is do we have enough of them? That's one. The
Mhm.
second thing is that where the woman king thing is, and the battling.
Love
that-
is a
what-
battlefield. What she's trying to say. Black love is a battlefield.
No, I'm not saying it's not. I guess what I'm saying is that it's a commentary on today's standards. That at the end of the day, they don't need us. They don't want us. Their goal is to destroy us and replace us. That's what that says to me.
Yeah.
No, not destroy and replace. No, to
No, they need your
subjugate you.
subservience. They need your subservience.
Yes, but
Subjugate.
effectively,
It's the subjugate. Yeah.
I would argue, effectively, that's the same thing as what was just stated.
So you saying that black men are now freedom fighters and trying to fight the oppression of the
I mean,
strike?
I think, but I think words matter in the sense of when you say to destroy,
Oh.
it actually means to eliminate as in reduce your numbers instead of reduce your will and your spirit.
But that's always been the principal ideal here, is that you break the males and you start by breaking the boys. And this is the reason why you see so many dysfunctional boys, why it is perfectly okay for black boys now to have no creativity, no imagination, not being able to read. This is, if you talk to your average, 8, 10 to 12-year-old black boy, they have no sense of the world around them. They have no idea of anything outside of their environment.
Box.
They have no clue about it. And the reason why that's so important, why it goes to the crux of this discussion, is that all of us here have read comics. Many of us here are comic fans, anime fans, whatever. Think about the time that you pick up your first comic book and you read it and you were just instantly drawn into the story. It took you someplace and you were able to use your mind, you were able to use your brain, and you just went there. This is what is inherently missing in contemporary black society, among young black boys, for example.
You gotta understand,
they don't have that ability to conceive or think of a world that's beyond what they can see.
But they had to do that. But they had to do that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean that's the game plan, because you gotta understand, once the fathers are removed, that was the first step. The second step was removing the father figures, which would be uncles, got them messed up on smack and everything else during the 70s, 80s, crack, yada yada. Then after that, the only thing left was to take the one thing that might have gave you some hope left, which is the heroes that we grew up to emulate, copy, etc., and so on. Because generally speaking, those of us who grew up on anime, comics, etc., and so on, especially those who didn't have father figures and etc., had a tendency to emulate the heroes that they read, because that was the closest thing they had to some kind of father dynamic, or at least someone teaching them basic moral functions and have a moral compass to go with. So of course, the last section to destroy was that, which is why we're in the state we're in now. So it's a given. It's not surprising in any capacity, at least not to me.
Can I add on to that personally? That's why I'm of the mind, and I've been saying Krypton had his chance. Let it burn. I don't have the conversations. I don't watch the videos. I don't have the discussions. I don't care. Let it burn. It does not affect me. I don't care. So let it burn.
What's funny?
So
What's funny.
wait,
It's funny you say that because when I first got
let me
here,
finish.
that's what I used to tell people all the time as well. Let it burn. Just let it burn.
So what I want to say is that's why I prefer instead to have at least intellectual conversations where we discuss other things. So in that vein, I would like to maybe move away from the topic, but if we're not, I understand that. I'm just going to stay in the background until the conversation shifts away, because
Just one thing
I
really quickly.
personally reached my personal limit for Black America and the situation and what's going on and how it got there. I don't care anymore. Let it all burn. I don't care.
That's why I was sitting here so quietly for most of it because
I would just say this first.
I don't care. I don't want to have
I
the
would
conversation.
just say this much because the reason why I think this aspect of the conversation is important because these are a lot of your writers today. So if these are the issues that this is what young Black males are lacking right now as teens or even preteens and school age and of school age. These are gonna if let's just say some of them do manage to go to college, do manage to become writers or whatever. These are the folks that are gonna feed into this never-ending cycle of you just have no Black folks who have no imagination, who have no creativity. But I would say my own personal opinion, because I given what I do for a living, this comes up a lot. This is very problematic. It comes up a lot, and so it's just one of these is at this point for me. I'm pretty much indifferent about it because I can't do anything about it, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really make much of a difference because it doesn't seem to be any motivation in Black America to even think about this. Because I mean, we Black folks have been waxing philosophical about Kemet and about African deities and folks from African mythology and legends for decades now, but yet we have never seen any real creative minds come along and craft something that was on the scale of the Lord of the Rings or the Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever. Okay, there's never been anything that Black folks have created on that scale, and that is my fundamental problem because all of us here have picked up a comic, picked up a manga, watched anime, and you instantly get drawn into those worlds. Why? Because you it's hard to believe that these people actually had this level of creativity. Did they really think of this?
There was one. There was literally one. And truism, you're gonna hate me when I say this. It was a woman, because the Terminator and the Matrix are the same story. It was written by a Black woman. Now she's a nut job, but it was the same story. The first part of her story was Skynet and the Terminators. When that didn't work and John Connor and everything else, then Skynet created the machine city and the Matrix. It was the same story. Now, both of her stories got stolen and she settled out of court on both. So no one talks about it. So we will never hear the ins and the outs. But there was literally to Doc Phoenix' point is why I brought that up. There's been one so far who created an expansive universe. Now, with time, I'm pulling for Eric July and the Rippaverse that maybe he will be the second who will actually do it on a large scale.
Yeah.
No, and again, I think it's pretty impressive what he's done in a short period of time. And he certainly got the attention of the mainstream because they've come after him. And obviously, you had folks like the White Sands, or was it Black Sands, excuse me, who come after him, call them names or whatever. But, again, I'm really somewhat indifferent at this point because, don't really have no hope Black folks go ever figure this out. But at the same time,
it's a difficult call because like I get everything Logic was just saying, but we have to we still have to keep everything in perspective. That regardless of the young woman who with the Matrix and the Terminator, the truth of the matter is her story concepts and ideas who came from something in the '60s with the Outer Limits. And truth be told, we can't just put that on her. That goes on a variety of people.
Yeah.
Gene Roddenberry, he based Star Trek on he called it Wagon Train, because Wagon Train to the Stars, because Wagon Train was a show.
Yeah.
Even George Lucas with Star Wars. That's Sergio Leone's spaghetti western all day, every day. I mean, you can't miss that kind of stuff.
And you know, I'm glad you brought that up, Lawrence, because I want to now kind of transition back to the main point of the stream, State of Male Entertainment. Like one of the things that was brought to my attention, and we actually talked about this on the previous stream, how nowadays there's very little origination, creativity from, I would say, American entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, you still see it in regards, if you go to like other countries and all, like there's still a little bit more brand as far as like creativity and all, but your biggest players like DC, Marvel, Disney, yeah, a few others. Yeah, a few others. They have this tendency to take other stories or other storylines, and in other cases take other characters from other stories and try to make it their own uniqueness. I mean, let's just be honest. You go to Disney.
I'm glad you're going there.
A lot of Disney's stories are from other people's works, like the Grimm brothers.
Yeah,
So
the other movie from a few years ago, John Mars, or what, I can't think of the movie. It was based on a book from 30s. I can't remember. It was a John Goes to Mars or something like that. I can't remember the movie from a few years back, but no, you're very right.
right. So I think now you have this case, especially in today's age, where they now want to be creating characters that is based on race, is based on gender, is based on some sort of SJW mention. And to me, it really shows that they are missing the creativity in creating these stories. Like Logic, you said it beforehand. Lawrence, you said it beforehand. I'm gonna throw this in here, and Aizen Sama, you will probably agree with this. I was kind of perturbed when I heard that Disney had took over some of the rights of Bleach.
Let's go here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going there.
That's where I was going.
I was going there because now it's like, okay, what sort of SJW nonsense are you going to do now to Bleach? Like
I got
Bleach,
you here.
yeah, Bleach is an original story, and like Doc, you just mentioned before. Watching that anime series is one reason why it's one of my top 3 of my list. It was original. It was a lot of character development, and it was just something that I can relate to. But now all of a sudden Disney has like the English rights to it. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to expect? Are they going to come up with some character that, so to speak, is just out of this world that makes no sense? That's what kind of perturbed me.
Now, being we going, with Disney and what happened here with acquiring distribution rights over here in the western part of the world. Star Wars is a perfect example, and many others, of what happens when Disney gets their eyes set on something. When they buy the product, and then they change everything so they don't have to pay the original writers. And then take their content anyways. Now, they only got the Western distribution as of now, but they did make that big, heavy-handed play to be able to get it. So we'll see what happens. On the other end, I don't care about the dub version. I only watched maybe like part of the first season, and in the English dub. After that, I wanted Japanese and subtitles. I'm good. With that. But it just goes to show that they're not only going after content here. They don't want to end male content here. They want the control of the whole roundhouse. They want it across the world. And their narrative is they're stopping at nothing to get it, and they won't stop till they have it all.
Yeah.
You
Can I offer
know,
something? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I was going to say because you were bringing up Sigma, that you were talking about the whole SJW-ness and everything else when they was bringing in with their content. But I wanted to offer, I don't know, you guys probably may not watch this, may not hear it, but you may have heard of this particular Japanese concept, especially you probably, Sigma, of yaoi and Yuri content. Now I'm just follow me here. These are basically stories that are about homosexual relationships, but that particular outlook or that particular relationship style is not the main driving force. The main driving force of it is the story, and that just happens to be part of the actual character's art. And if you just take that out, the stories are still good. So why is it that they cannot, if you already have this kind of alternative lifestyle type of literature that's already there, why not follow that particular model and still make, if you're going to go there, at least make them interesting characters and have that be a part of what they are instead of trying to make that the whole big focus of it. I think
they don't care.
Yeah, they're not gonna go that far with the whole
Right.
But you see what I'm saying though. If you wanted to do that, you have an actual option of doing it. You have an actual model and an actual market, and that actually exists. They already made it successful because they actually have sold. Some of them have become cartoon series. One of which I actually, unfortunately, I watched, but it was still good. It was called Gravitation. It was a good yaoi type of show. But if you get away from the yaoi-ness of it, it was a good story about a guy trying to make his way into the world of being a Japanese rock pop idol.
See, here's the thing, Atruism, and in my opinion, this what makes Japanese manga and anime so popular with Western viewers and Western audiences. They are not trying to push a certain genre out for the masses. If there's something, if you like a particular genre, they have something there for you. But they're not going to push it for everybody else. Like, sure, when you look at shonen is a very popular genre as far as like in manga and anime because it captivates everybody. You look at it right now, One Piece. I mean, my goodness, when I was in Tokyo, One Piece is it. Like, they have it on trains, they have statues of it, they have it on billboards and all. One Piece is it. But it's because it's a certain type of genre that captivates everybody. But the problem that I see with Disney, what I see with DC and Marvel and those like it, they want to take a genre that is only for a certain demographic and want to push that genre on everybody else.
Sigma, if I wanted to, I wanted to speak on that. So, Truism, you brought up about the the rainbow people, the alphabet people. See, so the thing is this, right? Personally, I don't care. I want a good story, a good plot, good writing, good acting, good directing. I don't care. But see, here's the thing, and just an observation. I'm not giving any opinions here. My observation is this. You brought up an excellent point. Globally, the vast majority of this planet is hetero.
Yes.
So, alternative lifestyles, LGB, whatever, they're a very small minority of the global population. But what I've noticed, merely an observation, is that they have put themselves in key positions of access and control over media. And they're trying to mainstream their lifestyles.
They are.
From being on the fringe to have it being mainstream. And ultimately, maybe I'm wrong, they want acceptance. They don't want their lifestyle to be on the fringe. They want it to be accepted as mainstream. They don't want it to be on the fringe anymore. And my head scratcher is that if you are literally 3 or 5%, or maybe 10% of the global population, why should the other 90% of us make you and your lifestyle as mainstream as the rest of us? Now,
Because they
I'm
feel
not saying
judged.
that
That's why.
I don't accept you. I do accept you, but you want to mainstream your lifestyle toward the other 90% of us. Now, isn't that inherently the very same thing that you claim you're fighting against?
Now watch
Who
this.
thought?
Hey, watch this, Lon.
But that goes back to what I said earlier in the very beginning of the stream. That's the problem, because it's like you're fan baiting. You purposely change things to upset the fan base that has kept the whatever it is going for decade upon decade upon decade, because you want them to say something negative, because you want them to dislike it. Not because there's anything inherently wrong with gender or sexuality or whatever. It's just that people like what they like. You put them in a position to complain on the fact that you change stuff just for that, because you're trying to get attention, you're trying to get clicks, you're trying to get hate watching, whatever. And the fact of the matter is that, like I asked earlier, doesn't that make you just as racist for using race baiting and everything else to get that to happen?
Yep.
You're no better than the people you're accusing them of being, especially
Bingo.
when they're not.
Now, here's the thing, and I don't expect them to do anything else, because whenever you have the legal power to do so, and that anybody pushes against your narrative, it's automatically qualified as hate speech. But when you push yours, it's fine and dandy. I expect somebody who has that type of power to abuse the heck out of it.
You know,
I wish that was the case. I really do, Eisen. What you just said, I really wish was the case. But it has nothing to do with disagreeing with an agenda. We're talking about people who will take a comic, for instance, and they'll review it for the month, and they will literally pick out valid points. What's wrong? The artwork's not matching. This is that, etc., and so on, and they still get labeled as racist, Nazis, yada yada. Has nothing to do with agenda or anything. The book is not as substandard.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's crazy.
And that's what I'm saying. For even if the writing and the quality is terrible, you saying so is hate speech against them.
Yep.
That is power, dude.
Yeah.
And you know what, to highlight and to add on to what Eisen just said, the Jewish Defamation League does that. Anyone who Israelis and Jewish people don't like, they call them anti-Semitic. You may not be in the least bit anti-Semitic, but because they don't like you, they're going to call you anti-Semitic. The same way that if you don't subscribe to the hive mind of, I'm going to leave that one alone.
The alphabet gang. Yeah.
Nah, I don't think he's about to say that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, he's gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, I will complete it for you. If you don't subscribe to the hive mind of black folks, you know what you are. There you go.
Exactly, and that's the point that Eisen was trying to make. And in that vein, he's 100% correct, because again, if you don't want the homosexual or trans lifestyle or any of the rainbow lifestyles pushed to your children in comics and cartoons and in children's programming, then somehow, because you don't want that, they will call you homophobic. So now, aren't you doing the very same thing that you claim straight people do to you? It's funny how that works.
You know, to add on to what you were just saying, Roger's Finest, and what Lawrence God was saying earlier. You know, it's interesting because Sigma had also brought up DC Comics. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with, you know, DC is owned by Warner Brothers, but
Right.
I'm not sure if anyone familiar with what's been going on at DC and Warner Brothers specifically, which is that they have a new CEO in Zaslav, and basically he's been torching every damn thing. If it doesn't make money, he's been throwing kerosene.
It's not.
And
It's not. Yeah, but it's not what you think.
I would agree
yeah,
also.
but
It's yeah, but with
I,
respect,
I think
I
it very
don't
much
think
is that.
it's
And
not. It's really not. And
It's not.
I can make an economic case for why it's not. It is classic Wall Street. The company was bought. So what Zaslav is doing, he is going through and he has been selling off every IP that he can. He is going to continue selling off IPs until there's nothing left but DC Comics and Warner Brothers. At that point, he will either milk them for more profits or sell them off for a profit. And in the process of doing so,
actually,
he's
you
going
kind of
to
got ahead of me.
cancel
But that was what I was getting
everything
to.
that is already in the process of being made that does not fall in line with whatever agenda his people are bringing in. So
They don't have one. That's what I'm trying. They don't have one.
There you go.
They don't have one. The game plan here is, I promise you, between now and the next 5 years, they will be selling Warner Brothers.
That's
exactly
what I just said. That's exactly what
I mean, there's already talk now where DC basically, where they're just going to take some of the intellectual properties of DC and just sell it to whoever wants to write for those characters or whatever. Because right now, yeah,
that has already been confirmed. Everything that has been pulled off of all of the people who are complaining about things that have been pulled off of HBO Max, people don't read. It has already been confirmed. They've been licensed or sold to Netflix and to other streaming services. Zaslav is selling off every IP that he can until there's nothing left but DC Comics and Warner Brothers. At that point, he will do one of two things: pump them up to make as much money as he can, or sell them outright. This is classic Wall Street. I have been doing this since 1987. I recognize the signs when I see them. That's all.
He's gonna license first before he sells, though.
Bingo.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at, which was that's what's been happening, because obviously the only intellectual property from DC that actually sells is Batman. So everything else doesn't. Pretty much nothing else even has any real value. Only Batman sells anything reasonably.
Yeah,
nowadays.
He's not going to be able to take the licensing too far, because you have to understand he's going to, as he's already stated, especially with the movie division, he's trying to replicate Disney's success. And
he's trying to put in his whole Snyderverse type stuff.
Well, it's not just that. It's just that Disney. One of the things Disney always made it abundantly clear is that they're not in the business of publishing. That's why whenever you see comic books from like Scrooge McDuck, it was always licensed out. The problem is that the licensing fees are so high, the company that publishes barely breaks even, if ever. Because if the licensing fee is $10 million for Scrooge McDuck, that's a lot of product you have to move in the space of 3 years to make that back to pay them, as well as you to make a profit. So Zaslav is going to do the same thing. He's going to make exorbitant licensing fees. There's no question to that.
The interesting thing about that is that, given I watched that new Thor: Love and Thunder movie earlier.
Better you than me.
And I would tell you, whoever gave the green light on that garbage, yeah, there's a special place for them.
But at the same time, you can't get mad, because he told us from Jump Street what he was going to do, and that's the thing about hate watching and all that stuff. I don't understand.
Well, they literally hate watching, because I never really.
No, not you. I'm just talking in general. But the thing is that they literally tell us. I mean, literally at the announcement of that phase, to Keaty, literally said what he was going to do. He said what he was going to do. And
allegedly,
people went to buy it anyway.
Allegedly, he might not be able to direct any more Marvel films. Hopefully not, because
who cares?
I mean, he's pretty much destroyed the Thor franchise.
No, you don't understand.
No.
Who when I say who cares? Hold on. Let me say this. When I say who cares, I mean in the sense that it's not just about him. The entire phases that included that moving forward, nobody cares. It's hot trash. So whether he gets another movie or not is irrelevant. Marvel
I just
Cinematic
think
Universe, as it stands now, is done.
I
And
don't I
that's
don't
not
know if
on that's not
I
on
don't know if I
Taika
would
Waititi.
necessarily
That's
agree
on
with that,
Kevin
but
Feige. That's on Kevin
yeah.
Feige. Everything is Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is a hack. The same way
Yes,
that Alex Kurtzman is a hack. So everything that is wrong with Star Trek, you can lay it at the feet of Kurtzman. Everything that's
that is
wrong
correct.
with Marvel, you lay it at the feet of Kevin Feige. He is
That
the
is
one who
correct.
destroyed it all.
That is fair. That is fair.
And to the point about you saying hate watching, I would say that's only from hardcore fans, but from the wide majority, and some of it, and that's only a portion. Most people, because I've seen it with Star Wars fans, they're just gonna watch the crap just because it's Star Wars, or just because it's Captain America, just because it's Marvel.
Right,
Which
right.
brings
Yeah,
And I
me
think
to
absolutely.
the point.
I think that's and Isaac makes a very good point, which is why Disney brought Star Wars, because it already had a built-in fan base, and so they just thought that they can put out that garbage that they put out with the previous sequel trilogy, and they thought people were going to just watch it. Then people finally got the hint after The Last Jedi that, oh no, they done completely screwed this damn franchise the hell up.
Yep.
And so and so you also see this too in the video game industry as well. So you see this with a lot of intellectual properties in video games. For example, those of us who ever played Mass Effect. I'm a big fan of Mass Effect. I played it back in the day, loved the game. You know, they completely destroyed it well, it was kind of going downhill with Mass Effect 3, but then they came out with Andromeda, and then they just destroyed it. And then and for those of us who are old school, who remember back in the day when you had the original Xbox and used to play Halo, Halo hasn't had a good game in I don't know how long.
I ain't played since 2. I haven't played since Halo 2.
Yeah, there probably hasn't been a good Halo game probably since Halo 2. That was probably the last of the great Halo games.
Well,
And
Doc,
you can look at a lot of video game franchises where you see that they have just progressively gone downhill. Call of Duty probably being the best example of all of that. So
Well, Doc, see, first of all, you, sir, are a young whippersnapper, because I go back to the first game console being the ColecoVision.
ColecoVision.
We didn't even have a game console. But you bring me up an interesting point that I have been wanting to bring up for quite a while. So, what makes for good sci-fi, whether it's sci-fi, comics, drama, love story, anything? But let's keep it to sci-fi and comics. What makes something good? Is it intricate and complex, or is it simple, easy, and straightforward? Is it dark and heavy, or is it light and cheerful? Because here's the thing, if we're being intellectually honest,
Yes.
most people on this planet prefer simple and straightforward. They prefer light and cheerful.
Yeah.
Some of us prefer intricate and complex, and some of us prefer dark and heavy. And God forbid you get intricate and complex and it's dark and heavy. That literally is your smallest niche. Now, here's the thing. Most people, let's keep it with sci-fi and with comics. As long as there's giant spaceships and laser beams, they're happy. That's why you have so much fan fiction, because they're cosplaying. That's why it's so bad, because as long as it's the trappings, as long as you have giant space battles, as long as you have unicorns, as long as you have hearts, as long as you have the basic trappings, for most people, that's all they want. Now, if you have complex stories and great acting, people will take it. But bringing back to the conversation with Lawrence and I, the point that we were making earlier, only to a certain point. You see, if you give something that's for a third grader, they say, well, we want something deeper, we want something more complex. Give them something that's for a fifth grader. Well, we want something more, we want something more complex. Give them something for a high school. Whoa, buddy, that's too much. I don't like that. And God forbid you give them something that's for those of us who are on this current panel here. So my point here is the majority of things that you see consumed are for the masses, and they're for people who think at a fifth grade level. Anything that is intricate and complex, and God forbid it is also dark and heavy, people are gonna attack it, because really it's over their head. They don't understand it, and they lack either the ability or the desire to apply their brain to have an attention span or to think about it. Because I'm telling you this right now, Tenet by Christopher Nolan is probably the best film I've seen in the past 20 years. It was amazing.
What film was that?
It was creative. Tenet.
Yeah.
Tenet.
Yeah.
That is probably the best film I've seen in the past 20 years. It was inventive. It was creative. It is Nolan's best work. And people say they didn't understand it. It was too complex. It was over their head. It was too much drama. When I hear those criticisms, what I really hear you saying is,
I'm too stupid to
have
avoid it.
an attention span longer than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You have to actually think to follow the story, and you didn't understand it because it was over your head. That film was brilliant beyond belief.
I think, to your point, Logic, I think that's pretty indicative. Not just most people, but I think this is something indicative of American society, where you just want everything to be just fast and easy, just simple. And again, I think a lot of that has carried over, certainly where you see these major conglomerates like Disney, where they can come in and buy up some of these smaller companies like Marvel, for example, and or you buy Lucasfilms and you pretty much destroy his creation, so much so that even George Lucas had to come out years prior and say, this ain't my wording, this ain't my work. And so again, when you have the very, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, always have been, always has been, excuse me. And how I watched what they've done with this franchise and how they've essentially destroyed it and destroyed it, and basically, I kind of got to put a lot of blame at George Lucas's feet, because he's kind of responsible for that demon spawn of Kathleen Kennedy.
No, he's not. He sold it. How was that his fault? He sold it. You can't.
Well,
blame
but he
him for
also
anything that
helped to
happened
make.
after
He
sold it.
also helped to put her in that creative power that she has over the Star Wars films.
Yeah, but he's
didn't.
not the one who put her in place. That was
Yes, he is.
Iger.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's the deal he made was 2 points. One, they were going to give him $4 billion. He made a complaint that he can't be sold the same way at the same price that Marvel was. That's how they got to the 4.5. He also made the point that he gets to put in charge who runs the company.
Wait, hold on.
He put Kathleen Kennedy in that spot.
I stand corrected. I stand
Hold on.
corrected.
Wait.
Yes, he put her there.
He literally said he can't be sold for the same price. So they just gave him an extra 0.5 billion.
Well,
Yeah.
Because you gotta understand, Star Wars in of itself was a much bigger franchise than even Marvel.
Yes,
Marvel, when
It's
Disney
hugely
acquired Marvel,
popular.
Marvel was downhill.
Yeah, Star Wars is hugely popular.
Marvel was on the
worldwide.
verge of bankruptcy.
It started off as a niche genre, but it grew to mainstream.
Right. And you also have to remember the reason he picked Kathleen is because they have a long history, because it's the
Been
three
there
of
since
them.
the beginning.
It's Kathleen, George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg. If you look at all their major movies from the 80s till now, she was always there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it was a producer, whether it was the money person, casting, whatever, she's been there for a minute. So that's why he chose her.
Then
he thought he could trust her, and that
Then
turned
I
out
stand
radically
corrected.
different. So
I stand corrected.
I mean, and again, I think the problem, like we're seeing with DC right now, there's no more Batman movies you can make. It's gonna save them. And certainly, it's not like when Marvel was on the verge of bankruptcy, and you basically, you had this underrated action star at the time, Wesley Snipes, who came in and made a little known film called Blade that helped to pull Marvel out out of bankruptcy.
Did it
and that
ever?
and that offends me as well, because the reason why Blade doesn't get, because let's be real, if we're gonna be honest, the Marvel Cinematic Universe started with Blade.
Don't say it. Don't
Yes,
say
sir.
it.
It
Don't say it.
started
It
with
would
Blade.
not
Don't say
exist
it.
without Blade.
That's
But
right.
but the reason
Don't say it. That is not true.
the reason why it doesn't get the props it does is because Disney has been courting China, and we've already seen the relationship with China and black people. That's why you see. That's why you see. That's why you see the posters here, and you can see John Boyega and the rest of them. But if you look at the posters that they've given over in China, everybody gets diminished. I don't care if it's John Boyega's character in Star Wars, the Falcon from MCU. You look at the differences between the posters here and the posters there. They shrink the black person, push them to the background because China doesn't want to see that. That is one of the main reasons. I won't say it's the only one, but I think that plays a big part into why Blade is not talked about the way it is.
Yes,
And I also and I also take offense to how Mahershala Ali came in and got that Blade gig. I don't appreciate that. I don't, because
You mean
Wesley
he's not
Snipes-
like Sticky Fingers?
because Wesley because I
don't know how many people remember that one.
I look at the
let's
way
not talk about that.
I look at what he did the same way I look at what Steve Harvey did to Bernie Mac.
Let's
All right, gentlemen. All right, we got this Duncan ready to go though. That's the thing where he has other things.
Nah, he was finna cook. God, he was
Wait
finna
a
cook.
second. I have
Okay,
to say
I'll
this
divide-
about,
okay,
I have
last-
to say this about
yeah.
Blade, because the general consensus is wrong, and I will explain to you why it's wrong. Blade was not a Marvel film. That was the one and only arrangement that has ever been made in the history of Hollywood. New Line put up 100% of the money to make the film. Marvel retained full ownership of the IP of Blade. In return, New Line split the profits 80-20, 20% going to Marvel. New Line made Blade. New Line retained 100% creative control over the film. Marvel got to keep the ownership of the Blade IP, and Marvel got 20% of the profits. That was not a Marvel film. That was a New Line film. Now, Wesley Snipes did come up with the idea, and he pitched it to Marvel. He said, listen, you guys need to have a coherent movie universe. You have all these characters. Make each independent films, but have the films interrelate. So then you can have all the characters appear in one or two giant films. But to say that Blade is the reason why we have an MCU is not true. It is not accurate. If you want to credit Wesley Snipes with the idea of the MCU, fair enough. But Disney does not owe the MCU to the film Blade. It does
Well,
not.
I do. Well, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I gotta respectfully disagree on 2 points. The first point is that when we talk about Marvel movies, we're not talking about ownership. We were talking about the characters themselves being presented to the world. That's number one.
That's
Number two.
argument though.
I
Completely.
know. I know. We're just going to disagree on this. It's okay. It's okay. But the second point is that regardless of whether New Line owned it or not, the fact of the matter is that you can make the same arguments, which would fall flat as well, because they don't own Spider-Man either. Sony does. They don't own the X-Men. Sony does, and the list goes on and on. But yet we still call those Marvel movies. So I mean,
Well,
that doesn't make it right, and that's
well, I didn't say it did. I didn't say it did. I didn't say it made it right.
It's a
I didn't say it made it
misnomer.
right.
It's a
I
misnomer.
don't think this is
and it's a
about an
misconception.
issue. Logic. I don't think this is necessarily about an issue of it being whether this is a Marvel film or not. I do concur with what Lawrence guy is saying, that basically it brought renewed attention back to
started
Marvel,
away.
because
Exactly.
that was the problem. Well, that was what was going on with Marvel in the 90s. Basically, that silver and golden age of comics had come to an end. You basically had a lot of the good writers. They kind of, I don't know what the hell happened. They took a break or whatever.
No,
But the point
I
was
know
is
what
that
happened.
you had a lack of
I can tell you
interest.
exactly what happened.
Marvel was losing interest. There was a lot of interest that had left Marvel. People weren't really interested in Marvel comics anymore like that. And so as a result, they were losing money. They were on the verge of bankruptcy. And again, when Blade came out, the Blade character, and specifically Wesley Snipes, brought attention back to Marvel. And so that allowed some of these other companies to come in and they allowed Sony to come in and do Spider-Man, allowed Fox to come in and do the X-Men films. All of these films were all within the same time period.
Well,
And I'll go you one better as well. You wouldn't have the Matrix in '99 if Blade hadn't come out in '98. That's my personal opinion.
But here's the thing about that, Doc. So Marvel, after Frank Miller came out with their Dark Knight Returns, which was '86. Someone got the idea to make a Batman film based on that, because Batman had gotten away from his roots and his origins. He's a dark, borderline psychopathic vigilante. So, long story short, we get the Batman film of '89. From that success, Marvel wanted to go and make films. They made Howard the Duck, which flopped. So, Marvel at the time was in financial straits, so they sold off their biggest titles, that being Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, with the hopes that they were going to be made into films. They never were. So years later, after you have the MCU, or even before you have the MCU, because now you start to see Sony with their Spider-Man films, and then you see the Fantastic Four films. So my point is, it wasn't exactly a linear thing from Blade to this to that to that. I
don't think that's
all
what's
a
being said.
concurrence of different things that happened to happen around the same time.
What I think is being said here is that essentially that. I'm sorry.
We have to conclude now because we are past the 2-hour 30-minute mark.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
It was getting good.
It was definitely getting good and all, but definitely I'd like to save it for the next stream and everything. Keep the topic and everything and whatnot. I will announce that next Sunday we have the Villain of the Month, and we will be talking about Mumra.
You know what? I was just watching some episodes of Thundercats. So when I was a kid, I used to have the damn toys and used to have the Thunder Tank, and anybody remember the toys back in the day?
Yeah, man.
You used to have the thing you put in their back and eyes light up, and
those were some good toys.
Guys, we gotta let him shut down. We can talk.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. As soon as he shuts down, we can stay on in the back and keep talking. That's cool.
Right.
We gotta let him shut down.
Right. So we're gonna carry this over into next month with the next State of the Male Entertainment and everything. So definitely we'll jump right back to what we just left off. But I'd like to thank everybody that joined the panel tonight and everything. Everybody did an awesome job. Looking forward to next week and then next month. Thanks for everybody listening in. Until next time.
Salute, y'all.
Peace, everyone.